Congratulations on this film. I really enjoyed it. So, for starters, obviously you're English. So, how much did you enjoy getting to be a Scottish cat and getting to play with that accent a little bit?
It's fine. Obviously, I have a little form in that regard with Star Trek, but my wife is Scottish, and my family, half my family is Scottish, so it's always fun, if a little nerve-wracking, to get to do that accent. Obviously, if I get it wrong, then I'm going to be in everyone's bad books. But I think I'm around the accent enough to be able to mimic it half decently, I think. But also with Bob, he's an interesting character in terms of exactly who he is. So that was an extra bit of fun because of what you don't see about him and isn't revealed till the end.
Yeah, and I really like how Bob is strictly business and kind of pessimistic towards Sam at first, but he eventually warms up to her and looks past her bad luck. So for you, what was the deciding factor of that character shift?
Well, I think, the film basically says that luck is what you make, and you create luck by transmitting sort of positiveness into the world and about love and friendship, things that are important in terms of how we are a community rather than just individuals getting on with their own stuff. Bob is very solitary. He doesn't really have any friends, so he says, but the minute he starts to open up to that, his life turns around. And I think that's kind of a great message. And I think that's what hopefully a lot of the young people watching the film will take from it,
Hmm. And I'm also curious, what do you think Bob sees in Sam that allows him to embrace his true self and acknowledge his own faults without shame by the end?
I think he kind of is irresistibly drawn to her. I think there's just something about her that he just likes. And I think, call it luck, call it fate, how they met, but sometimes you just get a connection with people, and I think that's what happens with Bob and Sam. And he's drawn to her despite his reservations about giving anything of himself away or heaven forbid, having a friend. I really liked Bob's journey, his arc in the movie from sort of very self-sufficient, very solitary loner, to someone who is far more inclined to be part of a family and actually express love and express affection and to have that expressed back to him.
And kind of on that note, how did you approach playing those two different personalities of Bob that we see towards the beginning and then towards the end of the film?
It was a really tricky thing to do because I had to always keep in mind throughout the filming, well, it was filming because she was shooting my performance, but throughout the recording, that there was a duality to Bob that I had to play both simultaneously, one of which couldn't be shown at all until you find out other things about Bob later on. So basically, when you're playing a character who's hiding something, you have to remember that the character knows that he's hiding something or she's hiding something. And you have to kind of play that tension a little bit. And so it was always keeping in mind that Bob was being a little duplicitous, let's say. and so that when you watch it on a second watch, you think, oh, wow, he's not actually entirely being truthful here. And hopefully see that he knows that.
Yeah. And I also mentioned Bob finds himself in an interesting dilemma carrying that hidden lucky penny. So I'm curious, do you at all sympathize with Bob keeping the penny to himself all this time? Or do you think he was completely in the wrong for that?
I think the tendency for us always is to look after ourselves. We're animals that are very self-preservationist, and we do look after ourselves at all costs. And I think for Bob, being as far along his little life, his lives as he is, you can understand it. I think that the fear that we have about making attachments is generally that we're going to lose them. And I think that's, Bob is far more at home with just being him with his lucky penny on his own and keeping it that way, rather than risk actually his sort of emotional last life, which is what he eventually does. So I understand it. I'm not saying what he did was right, but I get it. And part of what this film teaches is to be brave about letting that kind of selfism go.
Yeah, absolutely. So a lot of this film takes place in the land of luck and mostly the land of good luck. And that seems a lot like a utopia. So, if you had the choice, would you go to a place where bad luck didn't exist, or would you always prefer the human world no matter what?
I think I prefer the human world. I think I prefer the in between because if all you had was good luck, then you wouldn't be able to appreciate what good luck is because it would just be the absolute total constant norm. You know, we experience good and bad luck by contrast to each other. And you don't know what good luck is until you've had a lot of bad luck because when it, you know, if, I mean, good luck as in terms of fortune, in terms of circumstance happening to you, not some mystical kind of force, but when something goes well for you, if you've experienced things not going well, you feel it all the more keenly, you know. And that's why it's important to have the lows as well as the highs, because it helps us to understand what they mean. So I think the human world always.
So, I know you've done a lot of voice acting for animated films like this one. So, I'm wondering, does your approach differ when the character you're playing is an animal versus a human?
Yes and no. I mean, you kind of have to because it's all invariably it's an anthropomorphized animal because it's talking, and so there is a degree of humanity to it. There are little physical things you can bring if the animal has a particular physical trait, but generally speaking, you're talking about an animal which has the kind of soul of a human being. So you kind of approach it as a human. I think if you start trying to do like an animal voice, you might end up going down the wrong track unless the animal has a particular vocal tick. I don't know. But I think generally what I'm saying is you kind of go at it as a sort of a human, a kind of a human, but not a human.
Yeah. And finally, I think this film is so easy to relate to because we've all struggled with bad luck at some point. What's the theme that resonates with you the most?
I just love the idea that, you know, for a film which concerns itself with a magical, mystical land where good luck and bad luck are generated, really the message of the film is that luck is something that you make for yourself. You know, it isn't made in a magical kingdom with crystals. It's made by your own actions and your own decisions and how you interact with other people. And the more you put love and goodwill and positivity out into the world, the more that will come back and reflect on you as a result of your actions. And so really, for a film as fantastic as this, the true message is very kind of rational, and it is that, you know, if you're good to other people, then other people will be good to you.
All right. Well, thank you so much for your time today, Simon. Congrats on this film, and I hope you enjoy the rest of your day.